I view myself more as a logical and rational individual. This is why I don't consider the concept or what do you really call it? I don't consider response videos to be logical. Normally, they're done about people you wouldn't pay attention to normally. And so giving them a response only helps to validate who they are. Most of them are not worth doing it. We saw this with Aquila, obviously, when Count Dankula did a response video. He doesn't pay attention to Aquila. Why was he doing it? It's because sometimes it just needs to be done. There are two YouTube channels out there whose sole purpose is to really ingratiate and do response videos, and that's it. Whether they actually believe what they're saying or not, that's just how they get views. I don't want to do that. This individual I'm going to, and it's mainly because I hate emos, I hate millennials, I really hate people who have no idea what a nail clipper is, and I especially hate people who don't have the hygiene to go and wash out from under their nails. So let's delve back into this. And unlike this kid who started off his first video drinking, I don't know, chocolate milk or something from a sippy cup, I'm going to drink Dr. Pepper, mainly because I'm a grown-ass man and I have no Guinness.
Not too long ago, I made a video about how Jeremy uses his power to incite his followers to attack other people. That video currently sits at over 2,000 dislikes and 500 comments of people telling me my face looks like a salamander and that I shouldn't have been born.
Okay, the salamander comment, kind of new, kind of funny. Not gonna lie to anybody. But the rest of it, not so much. Really uncool, guys. Come on. Really?
And how I'm an SJW cuck. Several people pointed out the logical fallacy of me advocating to not mass flag people, and yet in that same video I asked others to mass flag Jeremy.
Yes, it's called hypocrisy. And we all know how that works out, don't we?
I wanted to make this public statement to say that I know.
Oh, we're going to go with the, don't worry, guys. I was only pretending to be retarded defense because that works so well.
I made that video intentionally. I said everything that Jeremy's testosterone-fueled sycophants didn't want to hear.
What does testosterone have to do with anything? And why would it cause us not to want to hear stuff? Well, why is it these women-looking quote-unquote men think testosterone is bad? Why? Is it because they're not getting enough estrogen in their breakfast cereal? I don't know. All I know is that I'm getting really, really annoyed with this whole belief that, well, you have testosterone. Men are bad. Okay, whatever.
I'm aware what I said is completely ridiculous, but why did I say that?
I think you said it because you're an idiot. I might be wrong. Willing to say that I might be wrong. But I feel very confident in saying that you said it because you're an idiot.
Because I needed an example. I made that video in hopes that Jeremy would do the same thing to me that he's been doing to everyone else.
Okay, see, I was wrong. It's not because you're an idiot, it's because you're a leech. You want to be able to get some publicity out of what's going on. You wanted to sponge views off of not just Jeremy's followers, but Tulare Community College's followers or Magic Mike's followers. You wanted to be able to ingratiate yourself with both sides so that you could try to sponge off some popularity. This is known as jumping on the bandwagon, and you chose the side that had more people involved in this. It's very much like what happened with Boogie. When Boogie made his video, he decided to jump on the side of the people that had more. And you see this a lot with people who are so wrapped up in being this I don't even know what to call it. They want to be liked by everybody involved, and they want to be seen as on the right side of history, I guess you could say. So you'll see them say, okay, what's the easiest path to take? And the easiest path to take is to go with whatever is going to have the least amount of negative criticism coming your way. So you decided to jump on this, expecting popularity. You expected Senpai to notice you. Well, shit, he did.
And hey, it worked. He targeted me on Twitter with disparaging comments, and his similarly minded friends did the exact same thing as they attacked me ad hominem.
Well, of course you were attacked ad hominem. I mean, you didn't bring anything new to the conversation. As I said, you're jumping on the bandwagon. You bring nothing to the conversation. You didn't bring up any kind of evidence. You just spouted off this same stuff that has been said for weeks now in the hopes that maybe you'd be the one to convince all those people calling for evidence to finally go, you know what, screw it, he's been banned, maybe he is wrong. And that's not how it's working for you, as you're seeing. So you decide to go, everybody's attacking me and not my ideas, except they're not your ideas. The ideas that you are spouting off have already been debunked. You haven't brought anything new. And it's to the point that, yes, they're going to attack the individual bringing it rather than what they are saying. Welcome to being late to the goddamn party.
I wanted to point out the hypocrisy of Jeremy through this ruse. Jeremy claims that what he says in his videos are nothing but mere critiques. And they aren't at all attacks.
You know, my intent is to not hurt their feelings. I'm not responsible if their feelings get hurt. But I can say, I mean, you know, between just us girls, like, I never intended to hurt their feelings.
Well, Jeremy's right. He critiqued them. He criticized her, as he is wont to do. He criticized what she was doing, how she was acting, and you know what? She got butthurt over it. She got angry because she was being called out. And as a semi-public personality, if you don't have the thick skin when you're called out, you just incite more criticism because people see you as an easy target. I'm not saying it's right or anything like that, but I am saying that look at Donald Trump. Very thin skin. I think a lot of us would agree with that. He responds to everything. And that's what happened here. Christine got a bit of criticism, cried about it. She got more criticism, cried about it, and now we're here. What he did was criticism. It's not harassment. It's not. At no point has legitimate criticism ever been called legitimate harassment.
But instead of digging through several tweets like the professor did, I decided to let Jeremy give me my evidence.
Okay, so you decided not to do any work. You made claims. You made assertions. And instead of validating and backing up what you say, you said, prove to me you're not this. Prove to everybody you're not this. That's not how it works. That's why in the criminal justice system, for example, if the state is going to bring charges against you, they have to prove their case. The only time the defense has to do it is if they are taking an affirmative defense. For example, not guilty by reason of mental defect or insanity. That's the only time that the defense has to prove something that the prosecution doesn't have to. So you even admit here, you didn't comb through any tweets, you didn't do any research of your own, you went with what other people said. This is why he went after you as an individual and didn't go after anything you said.
On his Twitter, he has a tweet about my video that reads, "This emo blade does not even play magic." I do Commander and I have pre-release vlogs, like what the hell? "Everyone knows this card design has nothing to do with Flip It or Rip It. Confirmed soy boy casting his 2 Fedora spell on MTG. I should have known when this strawberry head didn't even pronounce her name right."
Okay, 2 things. 1, calling it a 2 Fedora spell, wrong thing to say. You, being an emo little shit, would probably wear a trilby, which is completely different from a fedora and not as cool. A fedora is for men like Al Capone, which, say what you will, at least Al Capone didn't go, anytime someone said something stupid to him, he was more willing to shoot them. Okay, but you get the point. And the second thing is if you're going to get involved, yeah, you might want to be able to pronounce names correctly.
He claims that it's better to attack the argument instead of the person. Yet here he is surrounding his claim with attacks upon me.
Once again, this is because you didn't bring anything to the conversation that hasn't already been said 3 or 4 times. Minimum. You are late to the party. You admit you did no research. You looked at the professor's video. You said, oh, this is a thing, and you decided to get involved in it. You didn't actually submit any type of actual new criticism towards Jeremy. And at that point, the only thing he should be talking about is that disgusting haircut of yours or those nails of yours, which, by the way, I'm glad in this video, it looks like you figured out what a nail file is. And it looks like you washed off your nails. Good for you. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, I'm aware that card has nothing to do with flip it or rip it. That was another method to lure him to tweet about me.
Once again, with the I was only pretending to be retarded. No, I don't think it was pretending. And to be fair, I have said Jeremy should really shut up when dealing with people who don't really matter like you. He doesn't want to listen. That's fine. He wants to call out bullies like you. Fine. Whatever. But, there you go.
And instead of trying to correct me or give an actual argument, like say something on the lines of, I'm afraid your argument is flawed. That has nothing to do with flip it or rip it. Therefore, and then he goes on to actually critique me. He instead takes this opportunity to call me an emo blade and diminish me by saying I am a soy boy.
Personally, I just find the random, and he calls me a soy boy. The movements just seem unnatural and a little funny. They do. I mean, it's like, what do you even say at that point?
And he said I'm casting a 2 Fedora spell, which is comparing me to a socially frowned upon archetype. These are the kinds of comments that I and the professor and everyone else who's currently shouting for Jeremy's removal were talking about. Now, to address Jeremy's followers, the same people who allow themselves to be manipulated by this man.
I don't think it's fair to say that Jeremy's followers are being manipulated by him. He makes a really good case that you actually point out later on that the professor was the one manipulating people. You, with your actions here and the way you're speaking, the inflection and everything, you're trying to manipulate. You even established that you are a little bit later. To say that Jeremy is manipulating people is disingenuous at best and an outright lie at worst. I think it's very safe to say that, yes, people do feel a little upset about this because we realize the dangerous precedent that has been set here, that if we say something that Wizards doesn't like and it has nothing to do with Magic the Gathering itself, then they can come along and they can just say, we don't want you here. That they have the right to come in to the stores. And this is the big thing. They have the right to determine for these stores who can play and who can't. Now, I know the obvious response to that is, well, if you play unsanctioned tournaments, the store can let you play then, but that's not the point. Friday Night Magic is not supposed to be a professional level event. That's why it's judged differently than a Grand Prix and whatnot. It's supposed to be for fun. It's supposed to be, relatively speaking, casual. So this is why his followers, myself included, are so adamant that this sets a precedent that you don't want, because eventually it's going to be turned around. It's going to be turned around on you, and you're not going to have any recourse because this is the position you took, and nobody's going to want to defend you. You are going to be hoist on your own petard.
Throughout the comments of Jeremy's and Bering's followers, I actually didn't expect that, they were all crying out for evidence, and I supplied that evidence. Well, actually, more specifically, the professor supplied that evidence. The professor supplied dozens of screenshots and video clips that he took about Jeremy and his horrid actions that Jeremy constantly tries to deny and to try and change the context around because he knows it'll make him look bad unless he doesn't. And Jeremy, it made you look really bad. Now, I referenced this video in the description, as I'll do the same with this one, by the way, but every one of Jeremy's and Bering's followers who wanted this evidence and yet refused to watch the professor's video instead decided to point their finger at me, saying, I'm not supplying evidence. But why? Why would they do this when evidence is so clearly there? Because they don't want evidence. They want someone to tell them that they are right. They don't accept any evidence unless it aligns with what they want to hear.
By your own admission, you provided no evidence. This is why people keep saying we want evidence. We want evidence of this targeted harassment campaign led by Jeremy against Christine. The professor didn't provide it. His detractors continue not to provide it. And they always say it was because it was deleted. How is it possible that that's the case? The professor's videos, the screenshots he has, are when those tweets were new. They're not taken months or years after the fact. The professor's been planning for this eventuality, and I'm going to say that it was an eventuality that he would come out and he would be chastised by a lot of people. Nobody's denying that. The people coming out and saying we want evidence want proof of that. Not that he's an edgelord. Jeremy has said he's a shitposter. Jeremy has said he's an asshole and an edgelord. But he has criticisms, not harassment, criticisms. And that's a big thing that you don't seem to get. We don't want to hear we're right. We want evidence. And if you provide that evidence that, once again, Jeremy was leading a campaign of harassment against Christine, Jeremy's support will die off. Jeremy's subscriptions, his followers, will plummet like a rock. It's not that hard. Stop hiding behind it was deleted. Stop hiding behind, well, we don't have it, but you have to, you should believe us. Listen and believe, and actually provide the evidence to support your claims.
Which is why even after the professor supplied irrefutable evidence, Jeremy then feels the need to target him again. But why? Because he knows if he doesn't, it'll look like he's admitting fault. It'll make him look bad. And Jeremy starts his video not with a critique, oh no, but instead, he talks about how the professor expertly applies pathos in his video.
I want to point out, look at how disheveled he looks, how he has kind of like a lazy face. His hair's all awry. This is on purpose, okay? And I'm going to show you that in a few seconds here.
Player and friend of the channel, friend of mine, Christine Sprankle.
So, again, slow. Now, that is kind of part of his shtick, but he also slowed it down to a whole new level. He's trying to portray this, like, kicked puppy, how he's just agonizing over having to produce a 20-minute video talking about something that nobody forced him to, that, you know, he's only doing it for the good of the community. Slow, somber, and he knows as an actor, because that's who he is not this man off camera.
Jeremy wants to have you believe that because the professor is distraught with all these negative comments, that it somehow diminishes his credibility.
Jeremy actually makes a very good point in this video. The way that the professor looks when it comes to how he's talking about what happened to Christine is very disheveled. You look at his hair, it's screwed up. This is why I bring mine down. You can't say that about me, can you? No. But he makes a very good point that when he starts talking past that point, he's taken a shower, it looks like. He's slicked back his hair. He's completely turned around. It's like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing, and it's very manipulative. At its very core, it is intentionally manipulative. He wants you to feel bad. And you don't actually know everything that's going to be said. He wants to get you into this melancholy feeling, because if you are saddened, psychologically speaking, you are more willing to look at the target, the antagonist of the narrative, and grab a pitchfork and a torch and go after him. That's why it's manipulative.
But Jeremy fails to realize that what the professor did only added to his credibility, because the professor was using pathos, the method in rhetoric writing to connect to the viewers emotionally.
If you're gonna claim a term, it's probably better that you don't go and make it very clear that you are reading the definition off a screen. More importantly, rhetoric writing, propaganda, manipulation. It doesn't have to be factually correct as long as you believe it to be correct. That's once again why we keep saying we want evidence.
Jeremy wants to have you believe that the use of emotions loses the professor's credibility. But pathos is constantly taught to us in our universities on how to add credibility, along with logos and ethos. It is used in speeches our presidents make. It is used in the speeches of our favorite fictional characters. And the professor felt the need to attach his personal ties to the Holocaust because it shows his personal attachment to what's been going on.
Look at the smug expression on his face the entire time. He starts leaning back a little bit. His head comes up a little bit, like he's looking down at someone. And the rapid blinking. This is a big thing. Within manipulation, if you can make it seem like you are higher up, people will listen to you more, or it'll give you a sense of legitimacy with the people you're talking to or who you're proselytizing to. And more to the point, the whole thing about dragging the Holocaust in is a manipulation tactic. It always has been. If I make a reference to how I was affected by this terrible thing in the past that has absolutely nothing to do with what is going on right now, then you're going to feel bad for me. I can manipulate you a little easier because you're not going to want to really deal. You're not going to want to call me a liar when it comes to the Holocaust. We see this all the time. And as much as I hate to say it, because some of my best friends are Jewish, and they will even admit to this, there are Jews out there that play up family that were lost during the Holocaust. That's not to say that the people who were killed are not people who should be mourned, but they do play it up. And we see it with September 11th, the people who play up relatives or friends who were killed. That's how it is.
And it also shows that these followers, the people who are leaving these negative comments, have no filter and have no barrier on what they'll use against a person just to bring them down. Now, instead of realizing that Jeremy's videos exacerbates these situations, he chooses to ignore them and continue encouraging the deplorable behavior from his disillusioned fans.
Citation needed. Show me where he has actually told people to go and harass someone. Show me where he has gone out and said, I want you to go after this guy, because this video I'm making, Jeremy had nothing to do with it. Jeremy may be a byproduct of what's going on. His approval or disapproval does not matter a fucking lick to me, because I'm not looking for his approval. I'm a Marine. I stand up for what is right. That is what is expected of me. It will always be expected of me. I will continue to the day I die to do that because it's the right thing to do, regardless of the consequences. I will try to do what is right. And calling people out on their bullshit is right.
Instead of taking responsibility for what his videos and his actions incites in his followers, he puts the blame upon someone else. So while Jeremy's fans shower him with hundreds of dollars, and as his followers continue the practice of listening and believing, a practice that they are very vocally against, Everyone with a sound sense of logic will know who Jeremy truly is. A manipulator.
It's actually kind of funny that you call him a manipulator when we look at your entire video and it's all about manipulation. It's a psychological treatment. You're taking people, you're assuming that they are inherently good, okay? And people are inherently good, but you're trying to play it off as this woman was harassed by this person. There's no evidence of it. He criticized her, but look at all this other evidence of him being an asshole. It's character assassination. Pure and simple is what it really comes down to. And that's not right. Once again, you provide the evidence that he targeted Christine for systemic harassment and his followers will dry up, but you refuse to do it. You would rather attack us for what? Listening and believing? That's not what we're doing here. Okay, your side has perpetuated listen and believe. This is shown on the subreddit where people were banned for saying, can I see some evidence of this targeted harassment spread out over years, allegedly. This happened on MTG Salvation. Immediate infractions and bans for anybody saying, can I see some evidence of this harassment spread over years? This is why the listen and believe thing doesn't work with us, because the minute you show us the evidence, we will gladly flip him off as we switch sides, regardless of what he thinks of us at that point, because it's the right thing to do.
Jeremy, what do you gain from talking down to people the way you do in your videos? Why do you feel the need to be so heartless with your so-called criticisms? At what point did you forget that people you address have emotions? And yes, I'm aware you think that these people need to simply develop a thicker skin, or that what you say online has no real effect in the real world. But what I see is a man who works so hard to address and entertain his followers that he forgot the people he's talking about are human. What I see is a man who forgot how to be kind, and instead learned how to address and entertain a cruel audience. And in that time, I feel you forgot what kindness truly is.
I'm going to come out and say it right now. Screw you, you little shit, for thinking that criticism of anybody is somehow heartless, that somehow saying, I don't agree with you and here's why, or criticizing the ideas being espoused are somehow heartless. Screw you for painting with such a broad-stroked paintbrush, but expecting us to treat you as an individual if this blows up in your face, and it will, okay? Screw you for that. I do not appreciate it, but I'm thick-skinned. I'm going to tell you screw you and carry on with the rest of my day. I really don't care about your opinion. I'm doing this because it's, at this point, it's fun. I'm not going to lie to you. And yeah, he's an entertainer. Welcome to YouTube. You're an entertainer, aren't you? Yes, no, maybe? Who cares, though? See, as long as you can claim I'm on the right side of history, you can say whatever the hell you want, and your side does. You say whatever you want. At the end of the day, though, Jeremy hasn't been proven to be the heartless one. You are. Your side continuously does this. When you go after Sargon, when you go after Count Dankula, going after Jeremy like you are, you constantly prove that the only heartless people here are you, because you can't actually defend what you say. And you would rather tar and feather people who just want evidence that this happened, who aren't immediately listening and believing what you say, because we have some semblance of right and wrong. Is Jeremy an asshole? Absolutely, but this is a position he's had as well. So screw you, you emo-looking shit. Let's continue.
I do not hate you, Jeremy. I hate what you're doing. And I know that even now, you will not listen to me. Because that would mean you're admitting fault. When really, it would show that you're growing as a person. But you don't feel the need to grow. You feel the need to win. And winning is all that's important to you. Isn't it? Is this about Sprankle? No. Is this about a card game? No. This is about you, Jeremy.
He actually has a point here. It's no longer about Sprankle. It's no longer about Magic or Magic Online. It is about Jeremy. It's about all of us. We are all subject to the same repercussions if we say something that this company doesn't like. He makes a valid point here for the wrong reasons, but he makes a valid point here. And Jeremy understands this. I understand this. Bering understands this. Dankula understands this. Sargon understands this. Do you see where I'm going with this? The people supporting Jeremy in this understand that this sets a precedent that we don't want, that no one should want, because eventually, if you say the wrong thing, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, it can be used against you. This is why a lot of the free speech stuff going on right now, a lot of conservatives, people on the right of the political spectrum, are against anything that curtails and punishes people for what they say, because eventually it will be turned around. The people under President Obama who wanted to punish Islamophobic speech and classified as hate speech, they didn't understand that eventually someone they didn't want in power might come in here. And then those same laws could be used against them. That's how Gorsuch was elected, because the Democrats were able to rewrite the law and make it a simple majority instead of, 60% or something to confirm him? The people they didn't want to be in power were now in power, and there was nothing they could do about it. They got a short-term gain, but long-term consequences they were warned about, they just didn't care about at the time.
This was only incited by Sprankle. This is something that's been building up for a long time. The hate you're receiving isn't just going to go away. You may not see it anymore, but it's still there. This is about remembering what kindness truly is.
This is what we mean. He even admits Sprankle was just the catalyst. But because you're an asshole, we have to punish you. Guess what, sweetie? Nobody is ever going to be completely nice to you. And anybody who is 100% kind to you, you should be worried about, because they have ulterior motives. Anybody who can't show you their real face, and don't get me wrong, this is coming from someone who, looks like he fell face first out of the ugly tree, hit every branch on the way down, but thankfully, that gravel road below broke his fall. If they can't show you their real face when it really matters, they didn't care to begin with. You don't seem to get this. Your side doesn't seem to get this. I have more respect for somebody who can be honest with themselves and with me than somebody who is going to put on a fake face and act like nothing to worry about. I'm going to cut out part of what's coming up because it has no bearing on any of this. I'll show you what really matters.
And I need to rectify what I said in my previous video. Do not mass flag Jeremy.
Okay, so you just did exactly what Jeremy does. Don't do this. You can't control what people do on their own time. You can't control what your followers might do. We've established this, or at least we've established it for you because that's what really matters to you. I can respect that.
That is not how we truly fix this situation. The way we fix this situation is by educating. But I will hold true that if you feel that Jeremy has made a video that is inherently hostile towards another person, then you should report it.
And then you go around and you do that. I had such hope for you. Such hope. And here we are. Here we are. You start off by saying don't mass flag, and then you go and say, but if you feel the need to, you would call that mass flagging if Jeremy's followers did that. If he put that in a video, and he has, and people actually followed through and they did report videos, you would call that a mass flag campaign. You would call that harassment. Why is it different for you? Oh, because you're on, quote, the right side of history.
I'm not going to have my channel be centered around petty drama. I felt personally invested in this topic because I too was once a follower of Jeremy. I once believed everything he said until I started thinking for myself. And since I have been playing Magic the Gathering for so long, and I've seen how the community has fluctuated, I felt it necessary to address this situation.
And ending on this note, that's what they always do. They do this thing where they go, we're thinking for ourselves, but anybody following Jeremy is incapable of thinking. You're all a bunch of blind sycophants. You can't be trusted to think for yourselves. We have to do it for you. And it's intellectually dishonest. If you're saying that your side is thinking for itself, then you have to be willing to stipulate that the other side is also thinking for itself, that they're not blind sycophants, and you're unwilling to do that. It's a psychological tactic that these people use, and it's, relatively speaking, effective. It's effective because people listen to it. Doesn't make it right, but there you go. Jeremy, I think, needs to shut up. I've said that before, but he's not going to, and that's fine. People like this do not deserve the time from Jeremy. They don't. It needs to be stated that the people that are attacking Jeremy are doing so because they themselves are morally bankrupt. They are projecting their inadequacies on Jeremy. These are not nice people, try as they might to defend themselves, to make Jeremy a scapegoat for their own shortcomings. We have him calling for a mass flag campaign. It's essentially what this was. And yeah, Jeremy, I would argue, has made similar calls. I'm not saying that either side is right in the matter. This whole bully busters thing, I think, is kind of a mass flag thing on Jeremy's part, especially when it says this evidence will be available to you on a Google Drive and you can look at it and do whatever you want with it, report and whatnot. Overload WotC with this. And I think that's the wrong way to go about it, but he's not going to listen to me when I say that. He established that already. He's going to do what he wants, and that's fine. I have no problem saying that Jeremy is wrong on things. I've established that multiple times. The difference is that these people do not understand where they're wrong. Daniel Fournier attacking Jeremy personally. A.E. Marling creating a guide on deplatforming Jeremy specifically. To violate the terms of service of Patreon with a mass flag and brigading campaign. To violate Twitter's rules with a mass flagging and brigading campaign. To violate Reddit's rules with a mass flag and brigading campaign. To violate Facebook. Do you see where I'm going? But he'll be forgiven for this. Once again, Daniel Fournier espousing the exact same things. Forgiven. Christine Sprankle lied about all of this. Wanted to give people a way to, well, she could leave Magic the Gathering cosplay. Notice she said Magic the Gathering, not all cosplay. She galvanized the entire crew. Started this entire thing, really. She'll be forgiven. Valerian Community College, the professor, hasn't established anything. Has said some stuff himself that, quite frankly, is pretty insulting. But because he's on the right side of history, he'll be forgiven. Magic Mike's, I think it's Mike Evans, beat on his wife while they had a kid. A scummy person. He's forgiven. Eric Froelich, actively going after people. Be forgiven. but not Jeremy. See, we're so willing to forgive our side in this. We'll make up any excuse at all to defend our side, to forgive the people we agree with. But not Jeremy. Even though he's part of our community, we don't want him to be. So he had the temerity to defend himself against us. We have more people. We're in the right. Who the hell does this upstart think he is, defending himself from our attacks? No, Jeremy, because you had the temerity to defend yourself and not roll over and die like we told you to. Your DCI number needs to be banned so that you can be burned in effigy. Your ability to make money in any way, shape, or form needs to be prevented because we don't like you. But if you do it to us, that's harassment. See, we can do whatever we want. Everybody else should listen to what we say and not what we do, because we're right and you're not. And if you decide that you're going to use our tactics against us, well, Jeremy, you're in the wrong. And there's not a good goddamn thing you can do to be in the right.